Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I am extremely congested, so I apologize. My head hurts. I have a cold. I've accepted that I have a cold. I have knuckle under the brass thumbs of the universe, and accepted. Fair enough. Just gotta live through it. Now, that said, I still kind of want to do the news, and I just still kind of want to do the news. There's certain stories that I kind of want to do today, but I want to clear the channel and I want to talk about this because later on at some point I'm going to want to remember that this happened in the way it happened, and since the experience is fresh, and I kind of want to make a larger point on this. Now, try to make it relatively quick. I don't have a huge amount of gigs here, at least not yet. The technician is going to come to fix the internet tomorrow, but I had presence of mind to get a SIM card anyway, just to be on the safe side. I've become a cynical SOB on that stuff, and I was right. My wife was wrong, and that SIM card was needed and necessary. But I do want to talk about this. So, you've heard me say a better world is possible. I've said that more than once. I haven't fully thought this through, but I want to try to explain it. And it's not necessarily something that it's fully be thought through. It's a travel experience. But you've heard me say a better world is possible. I say it all the time, and even though the show can be a little cynical, I mean, it looks out at the world, and in looking out at the world, it usually sees bad stuff and bringing it to people's attention. I'm a double Virgo. I am that to the hilt, and this show allows the best of my worst impulses to kind of come to the forefront and say, hey, there's a problem here. This needs to be fixed right here. But I'm optimistic overall. And oftentimes, when I make this point of a better world is possible, and I know in my head I have this kind of cartoonish Star Trek world in my head, but I mean that in steps for a better society. That's what I mean it as. I don't think we get there, though, depending if the incentives stay the same. Meaning, you can't have a system where all incentives go towards negative and expect people to go towards the better angels of their nature. They're not. If the incentive pushes in a particular way, most people will go in the direction of the incentive. Yes, a few people will overcome that, but most people will go in the direction of the incentives, and you get the world that you have now. By the same token, there is something good in human beings. And the something good in human beings can be stimulated. Meaning, it depends on what your society stimulates. If it creates a nature, an environment that's nurturing and that incentivizes these type of good behaviors, well, you get a better world. No, not everybody is going to be perfect, but again, at this point, people are going in the direction of incentives, which in this case is a better world. But you have to start with the underlying logic of the particular thing. Otherwise, it's just going to replicate. And let me explain what I mean. My wife and I, we jump into Czech Republic, Ostrava, and we had a problem. The rental car companies start closing. It's Europe. They started closing early, and not just start closing early. The entire airport for almost closes. And so when we got into Ostrava, we were either gonna have to wait until 8 in the morning. Which I think was initially my plan to just look. I just bunk out at the airport, just stay there until 8, or we find somewhere to stay just for the night, and then come back in the morning. And so that's what we ended up doing. So my wife booked. She was like, "All right, here's a hotel. We can stay at this hotel." Great. We go to the rental car guy. It's like, look, can we get a car just for the morning? Like, how much would it be? And he gave some ridiculous number. It's like, so you just didn't want me to have that car. Fair enough. Now, the guy, we're like, all right. And her and my wife and I are thinking what we're going to do. And the guy says, look, I'm going in that direction. I'll give you a ride if you want. And we're like, no way. He says, yes, I will give you a ride if you want. And we're like, can we at least pay you? He says, sure, you can pay me. He says, costs about X amount, I'll just charge you half. So, two perfect strangers, he gives a ride to this hotel. I don't know how close this hotel was to wherever this guy was going, but he drops us off. He says, look, he says, be careful with your bags, like, because it was like a bar or casino that was open. And he says, look, are you sure? Do you want me to give you my number just in case you guys have any more issue? I'm like, no, I mean, we're here at the hotel. The world is great. We'll get us, sleep for the night and then get a ride in the morning. So he leaves. And coming to find out, the bar is not the hotel. The bar is just the bar that has a casino. And there's a rather large gentleman who's speaking a language I don't understand, saying, go around the back. And so we go around the back. Nothing. We call. My wife, apparently there was a number my wife was supposed to call. She calls. Nothing. It's freezing. It just started snowing today. But it was freezing that night. And we're standing outside like, what the fuck? Like, nobody has come into the door for the hotel. The hotel is completely dark at this point. And the guy in the bar, for the most part, keeps telling us in the back. We eventually go into the bar. The bartender, nobody speaks the language. And the waitress comes, she gives us a phone number to call, and essentially shoos us out of the business. And my wife and I were walking outside, and she's calling, and we're like, at this point, three things. It's like, I think I asked her how many stars did this hotel have, which was bad timing. But that's, if I'm being honest, that's where my head was. It's like, all right, did she just find a rinky-dink hotel for the night? That's the first point. I'm a Virgo. First thing is like blame. But the second part was, all right, this is just the fuck up. But regardless of whether it's a fuck up or not, the person should have picked up, meaning it's not my wife's fault in this. The person at the hotel, for whatever reason, apparently the hotel is supposed to be in action, but somebody wasn't there at the end of that line. How are we going to get anywhere from here? Like, can't call for a cab. They don't have Uber. They don't have My Taxi. Not having Uber or My Taxi. Even if we could find a cab company, there was no way to communicate with the person at the end of that line because that person is speaking Czech or whatever the language they speak here. So we're standing outside, and I'm out of ideas. I'm totally out of ideas. My thought is like, all right, look, we need to go into the bar. We need to impress upon them that we need assistance with this. Now, at the time when we were coming up with this plan, an Egyptian walks out. I shit you not. An Egyptian just walks out, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's like, where are you guys from? And it was like, from America, we're talking. And he says, I'm Egyptian. It's like, oh, very cool. I said, we just left Egypt. And we're talking at this point about our experience in Sharm el-Sheikh or Cairo. And he's like, look, I'm going to see if I can get them to help you. And he goes back in, and he sweet talks the person either at the bar or at the thing. Essentially, the people that are at the casino in the bar. And he comes back. He says, "Hey, they said come on back in. We're gonna see if we can either get you a cab or something like that." And all of these guys are huddled together, coming up with a plan to get us from the middle of nowhere at their establishment that closes at 2 a.m. to somewhere with a bed, preferably not the whorehouse that the guy was talking about that was down the street. The cab driver comes in, and the cab driver started putting his head together, and they started making phone calls to the various hotels that were in this area in order to find us somewhere to stay. Eventually we get to the place. I think it's like 2 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning. And the guy didn't ask for anything. Like, I'm racist to some degree when it comes to Egypt. And what I mean by that is, and it's not race, it has nothing to do with race, as a cultural thing. I just use races as somewhat of a joke in this case. In Egypt, anything that you do is going to be for a favor, like for cash. It's in exchange for something else. It's not, I'm doing this for you just to do this for you. And my experience was always, I'm doing this for you and I expect some remuneration in return. Even if I don't ask you for any remuneration, I expect you to give me something in return. And so in my head, the entire time I'm like, what is he going to ask for? What is he going to ask for? What is he going to ask for? He didn't ask for squat. None of them asked for anything. I mean, we bought tea, we bought something to drink, and that was pretty much it. But they spent like 30 or 40 minutes trying to help us out. They didn't have to. Look, I guess my point is, you have people who behave that way, meaning it just positive vibes being passed forward. Like, what am I going to do if I'm in a situation where I can help somebody else? Would I take the opportunity to do it knowing that somebody did it for me, or would I just pass by? And that choice will in some degree be determined by what took place prior, meaning those people being nice to me creates a context by which I am in some degree going to be nice to somebody else and passing it forward. By the same token, the other way around may have elicited a different response, as in, this is just the way the world is. Our entire life is a series of those experiences with the negative and the positives etched on us as we go forward. Incentives. What is the incentive in your society, or where do those incentives lie? And if those incentives lie in ways that make those particular experiences harder, I always say morality is emergent. It is easy for Star Trek to be these kind of great, glorious people because all of their needs are met. They're fully actualized human beings. They don't have debt. They don't even know what that is. Anything that they want from the standpoint of school or food or everything else, they have their nutritional needs. They're self-actualized. You can be that moral, upstanding person when you have your needs met. In a situation where you don't have your needs met, it's the used car salesman gonna not sell you that lemon and allow his wife and kid to go hungry. A better world is possible. But we would have to look through the systems and the things in place that create the incentive structures that would allow or propagate negative, you could say, behavior or experiences. And negative just in the context of what's necessary to have a whole functional society. I don't know. It was a wild experience, and it's one of those things where at a certain point you're like, oh my God, we're stuck outside. It's like we're stuck outside. It's like we're fucked. My thought was, usually when I'm traveling, I think, all right, there's resources around us. We can figure it out, regardless of whatever the situation that comes up. And this was one of those experiences where it's like, okay, there's no figuring this out. We're just stuck outside. We're fucked. We're fucked. No, man, everybody was nice. Everybody was nice. Let's see who's here. And Hillary Clinton walks into a bar and then she murders everybody. Then you realize it's not really a bar. It's an impoverished Middle Eastern country. Oh, burning a guillotine. Oh, that's funny and grim. It's funny and grim. The world tour continues. Yeah, the world tour continues. It's been 2 months. I'm tired. It's cold. It's kicking my ass. But we're still going. A dingo ate my baby. What's happening? Tim Flowbug. Hey, rates by the hour. Can't beat that. Yeah, I don't want the places where the rates by the hour. I don't want those. Or maybe in Asian countries, some say Singapore is probably hot there. Yeah, we want to do At some point, we're going to jump across. We're going to get kicked out of Europe and hit Turkey and then jump across. That's assuming this can keep going. This has been a hell week. This week has been brutal. Absolutely brutal. I'm probably going to cut this part off. But this was like a dark week, man. Full of embarrassment and shame in some respects. And just difficult choices in others. So during the time, let's see. Yeah, so last week we were in Barcelona. Barcelona started off bad. Barcelona started off bad for a few reasons. So well, at least for me, I don't know if my wife is the same way. It's like your room shapes your feeling for the stuff. Like, so the contour of Barcelona to some degree was set by the contours of the apartment where we were renting.